In this video, I'll go over setting up reference limits in NCS Plus and Sierra Summit version 3.1. I'm going to start out in our test protocol setup screen, and I'm going to choose the NCS Plus protocol and select the reference limits tab. In this tab, I'm just starting with a blank screen. If I right click, and you'll notice across the top, I have a tab for motor sites, motor segments, F, sensory and segments, and H reflex. So I'm just going to set up a few basic ones to show you how the workflow works. So if I right click, I can choose what type of reference limits I want to use. So I can have patient group set up for doing reference limits by age or gender or BMI or weight or height. I can do a basic range setup, or I can do a mean standard deviation setup or a regression setup. And then I can decide whether I want to show the source setup column. So I'm just going to make this really simple and just do a really basic range model just to show you the flow of setting these up. So I always start with plus to start with my first reference value, and this one's going to be, I'm going to do it on the median nerve, and I'm going to do it from stim site, from the wrist to APB, and I'm going to do an onset latency and no pre-processing, and I'm just doing a basic range model, and I'm going to do the max of 4.2. And now to do my next reference value, I just have to hit plus. It copies that line down, so now all I have to do is change the parameters. So I'm just going to change latency to negative amplitude, and I'm going to make that a minimum of 5. Since I don't have an upper or lower range, I'm just putting the upper limit or the lower limit for these. Now if I wanted to do another one, it copies that, and I'm going to change this maybe from negative amplitude to a left or a side-to-side comparison, for example, latency. And maybe here I want to do negative 0.7 to 0.7 as my side-to-side latency comparison. I can do plus. If I want to do a different nerve now, I can just say I want to do ulnar. I'm going to do ulnar wrist to ADM, and I'm going to do an onset latency, and I'm going to do a range, and this one we'll say is also 4.2. Okay, and then plus, and it takes me to the next one, and now I can change this to amplitude, and let's say this amplitude is actually 3. And so this is how I can kind of go through and set up my different reference limits. I'm going to switch over to the motor segments, and I'm going to do plus, and I'm going to get rid of patient groups here. I'm just going to do a basic range model, and I'm not going to use the source column. So here we have median nerve, and let's just say we want to do from the wrist to the elbow, and we're going to do a conduction velocity, and we are no pre-processing on this, and let's just say we want to do a minimum range of 50, and then we hit plus, and let's say we wanted to do that same segment, but we wanted to do a side-to-side difference conduction velocity. So we do side-to-side or percent side-to-side. Let's just say we wanted to do negative 9 to 9 is the difference there. Okay, then we hit a plus, and I'm going to change to ulnar nerve, and I'm going to go into, this is going to be wrist to below elbow, and I'm going to do a conduction velocity, and I'm going to put in my range. Let's just say this one was, 38 or 40 or something. And then we're going to copy that down, and we'll do another side-to-side difference. And this one will also do 9 to 9. Okay, so now we have median, wrist latencies and amplitudes and side-to-side difference. We have a motor segment for the median wrist for conduction velocity and a side-to-side difference, as well as the ulnar. And you just keep going down the list. I'm going to go into some parameters that were already done using the patient group setup, so you can kind of see how those would be set up. So in this other test here, we already have these set up. So if we go to reference limits, here these have been set up with the ANEM as the source from the Muscle and Nerve article in 2016. And you can see with the motor sites, what they've done here is they right-clicked, and we've chosen to show the patient group setup and a range, and then we showed the source column. So here we have the parameter, just like we were doing before, but we also have an age range as well as a male or a gender group. So we have an age group, a gender group, and then we have still a range model, and then we have the different reference values for that particular group, and then the source is ANEM. So all that was done here, as you can see in the motor sites, from the median risk to APB, from age 19 to 49 in males, there was a reference limit published of 4.6, and from 19 to 49 for females, the reference limit was 4.4. And then you can look over to motor segments. Same thing, we have median elbow to wrist, there was an age range, and then there was a gender, and there was a result for that particular gender of a minimum of 49 and 53 for females, and then the age range from 40 to 79 in males and 40 to 79 in females. You can see the results, the groups for those as well, the reference limits. For sensory sites, with these reference values, they were using age and BMI for sensory. So here you can see how they set up an age group, 19 to 49, as well as a BMI group. The BMI group was from anything below basically 23 BMI. That was the first group, and that's your reference limit is 17. And then above that BMI for sensories, in that same age group, the reference limit was 11. And then we go down to the next age group, was 50 to 79, and we had 2 BMI groups in that same age group, and those were set up at 9 and 7. So this is the reference limit setup for NCS Plus and Sierra Summit. If you have any questions on this, you can refer to the help topics in the reference limit section.